Welcome to another special edition of Truck Tech. I'm Thomas Wasson, and I went to ACT Expo. And so, continuing with some conversations, the first one's going to be the folks at Greenlane talking about their charging infrastructure and how they've recently opened their flagship location with the goal of expanding. And then, secondly, we'll catch up with the folks at Volvo. They did quite a few releases, a lot of good stuff going on. We're going to catch up with a few executives and get their thoughts. Stay tuned. Welcome to Truck Tech. I'm Thomas Wasson. We're with the folks at Greenlane here at ACT Expo Day 3. Super excited to be talking with Patrick Macdonald-King, the CEO of Greenlane, correct?
Founder
and CEO. Yeah. And so we're going to be talking about some of the recent developments. They just recently opened their Colton flagship facility, but they have a lot more announcements here at ACT Expo. Let's dive right in. Patrick, pleasure to get to talk to you.
Pleasure to talk to you as well.
So Colton facility just opened up. Very nice location. We had the ribbon cutting. Tell us a little about that first.
Super excited. We just launched our first location on Thursday of last week, and 41 chargers. We got our marquee customer that's coming down there, Novoya, who's actually going to be loading up their trucks and starting on Monday. Super excited about it too. To service, it's going to be the anchor point on our route from LA to Las Vegas, as well as servicing the Inland Empire for drayage operations.
And this is one of the chargers. We're actually looking at one. Tell us a little bit about it, and then kind of what's the capabilities. Give us the specs.
So basically we have 41 240s that are the same as this Detroit e-fill charger. We also have 12 Alpatronic 400s that are deployed down there as well.
Perfect. And I know when we're looking at the types of chargers, are these the 350 kilowatt or the 1200, the big chugs? What are we looking at in terms of capabilities?
Yeah, so we have 400s. We have 12 400 kilowatt chargers, and then we have 29 240s. And then essentially the site has already been made in advance. We can upgrade to megawatt charging as soon as the market's ready for it. So we developed something called trenois that are sort of small trenches throughout the site that are covered with cement pallets.
Yeah.
And we can actually lift them up and upgrade the site on the fly very easily, so we don't have to go through heavy construction in the future.
And that's one of the big things that, when you're an infrastructure provider and you're helping fleets out, you got to figure out the right charger for the right type and the right time.
Absolutely. And so the timing of the market for megawatt charging is probably at about the next 2 years. But in a lot of the traditional vehicle OEMs, the Volvos, the Daimlers, the Internationals, and so forth, are going to be rolling out their megawatt products.
And then when we're looking at other upcoming announcements, ACT Expo is a big thing for the buzz. Give us a little preview, or tell us what you guys were talking about at the event.
Well, I could tell you, we just announced a relationship with Volvo, where we're actually integrating with the Volvo application, the Volvo Open Charge application. So we're going to be the first infrastructure provider where you can actually start a charge, find a station, and it'd be fully integrated with their driver app. We also announced our Novoya relationship, where Novoya is going to be running their freight operations on the Greenlane network. And then we also had a big announcement. It was breaking news yesterday. was Iron Ride is also going to be operating their fleet on the Greenlane network. So we had a number of big announcements that we're super excited about. They're going to drive utilization and take electrification forward.
Tell me about the Iron Ride one. Dive into that. What for folks who aren't as familiar with Iron Ride, give us the lowdown and what makes it such a big deal.
So Iron Ride is actually a global leader in autonomous and EVs in the trucking industry. It's actually based in Europe. They've launched operations in the United States. They have about 100 trucks worldwide, EVs, and they're going to be running about 10 on our network starting in the next 2 weeks.
And this is a big deal because you're developing out the corridor. Charging infrastructure is a very measured, it takes a lot of work and planning. Tell us about not only what Colton represents, but what are the next steps we can look forward to as you all are expanding and building out this charging corridor?
Well, as I've told you before, our vision is to build out a nationwide network of EV charging and hydrogen refueling stations nationwide. So for us, the real big thing is we're a public charging operator where a number of folks are actually building private depots. And with this is the power of the network is the power of locations. So very shortly, we're going to be announcing our next several locations in corridor that we're lighting up, primarily servicing the Southern California market. So we're excited to actually have that network effect, drayage operations, moving all the way up through Central California and out through Arizona.
There's a big debate on the public versus the private side, the white glove versus the access. When you're looking at that, for folks who are thinking of the public one, is that one of the reasons why it's such a big deal to have these integrations with the apps? So that way the fleets that are coming to it, you get a lot of different fleets, but you're speeding up the process on how to do the transaction.
Yeah, just making it easier for the customer, right? Less friction. and be able to ramp it up faster. So I think there's a couple different ways. There's interoperability between networks, where you can actually utilize some of our competitors that could actually utilize use our technology on their infrastructure and vice versa. But there's also vehicle apps as well as truck as a service companies like Penske and so forth. A lot of them have their own applications that it makes it really easy for customers to be able to go and use infrastructure and ramp up electrification.
So if I have the app, let's say I've got that Volvo app or something, when I want to charge, what does the process look like for drivers who are used to coming at the pump, put it in there, swipe the fleet card, let it rip?
You can do that as well. Right? All of our chargers are CTEP compliant, so you can use a credit card, a MasterCard, or a Visa, or a WEX card on any of the stations. On top of that, when you have the app or a key fob, you can just walk up and touch the key fob onto the outside of it, or you can use the app to actually make a reservation and actually process the charge right there, and it'll go back to your account. And a lot of the enterprise customers that we actually have on board will get billed on a monthly basis.
Oh, that's not bad. So you look at the total amount of statements at the end of the month, and then boom.
Yeah, you got it.
What kind of other, when you're building out infrastructures, I'm thinking facilities, amenities, other opportunities, looking at it from your standpoint, what are kind of folks, I'm assuming while I'm waiting to charge, there's an opportunity to give them also something to do.
Well, there's longer dwell times with charging, right? And until megawatt charging hits the marketplace, where you're taking that dwell time down to about 20 minutes, you're probably looking at about 45 minutes to an hour for a regular charging session. So a couple of things. We've actually built great amenities at the site, a beautiful building with a nice relaxing driver's lounge for them to be able to head in with food and beverages and so forth inside. Some of our locations, like we have in Colton, we've actually got offices where a couple of the companies are actually running fleet operations and dispatch directly out of our facilities. And they have meeting rooms so drivers and dispatch can actually sit and actually meet and have a discussion. And it gives them a nice area to go and charge and recharge actually while their vehicles are getting recharged.
And I'm kind of curious as well, is it it's the I-35 corridor, correct, or the I-5 corridor?
Yeah, I-15.
I-15 corridor. I'm losing my mind here. So when we're looking at these large density lanes, has it been so far in your experience the buzz coming from the drayage, the day cabs, the short hauls, or maybe even the vans? When we're looking at in terms of this EV adoption rate, what are you all seeing?
I think it's a bit of everything, right? I mean, obviously, as the market has got some challenges right now as adoption is actually happening and just some uncertainty in the marketplace. But overall, the one thing I'll actually say at ACT Expo this year is the amount of positivity and sort of people looking at the market in a bullish way, saying, okay, well, this is all moving forward. And a lot of companies that especially that have sustainability and ESG initiatives that are really important for their corporate identities and brands and the shipper, mainly on the shipper side of the business, they're going to continue moving down this path and continue growing their electrification and their commitment to ZEV, using ZEV vehicles within their fleets.
It was explained to me that one of the reasons why, despite the changes in the regulatory environments, when fleets commit to doing it as a plan, they don't always upgrade their trucks every year. It may take 4 years for the truck. Is that something as well that there's a really good opportunity as you're building out the infrastructure? The demand is also slowly scaling because I may buy a percentage of EVs on year one, but I'm not going to wait until I do my next fleet re-up in year two. So it's not like a hockey stick. It's more of a continued sustainable path.
Well, and at the end of the day is when you actually looked at something like ACF, which I know is a sensitive topic that people don't like to discuss, but at the end of the day, it was very aggressive to try to put the onus on a lot of these companies to electrify their fleet in such a short duration of period of time. So in a lot of cases, they're going to go at the pace of their business. These are big capital investments. Yeah. There's also, it's a different workflow and use cases, introducing electrification into their operations. It's not the same as diesel fueling and so forth. So for them to learn and understand it and actually ramp it into their organization, it takes a bit of time to do that. And as you said, as they sort of roll on different trucks into their fleet, they're going to have the learning process and be able to rely on partners such as Greenlane to be able to make that transition.
One of the things was told to me is despite the federal drawback, there's still grants and money through states and municipalities. From a Greenlane standpoint, if there's gold in them there hills, where are we looking at? I'm assuming there's still opportunities in there. It's just you got to try a little harder.
You got to find them gold in them hills, right?
It's California.
Yeah, that's why we live in California. But no, a lot of it is it may not be a federal focus, but you can actually move it down to a state focus. Municipalities, utilities is another area. We look just over there. We have EIEE. We're sitting right there. That's helping out with the utility relationships and so forth. So the size of the grants and stuff might be a little bit different, but they're out there today sort of promoting and pushing electrification forward, especially in California in these areas.
It was explained to me when you're making these relationships with the utilities, one person I talked to said that the utilities will set aside a certain amount of grid for the charge, And I always wondered, I'm curious, maybe you can help me answer the question, is that something where it's like a zero-sum thing, or as you're building the relationships, are like, all right, I got this set aside, I trust you, Greenlane's awesome, I'm gonna give you a little more of this pie. How does it look like in the race towards building the infrastructure while also working with the needs of existing infrastructure?
So I wish it was as simple as that, as taking a piece of the pie, right? But a lot of it is good communication, working hand in hand with reps at utility companies and ensuring that you have their time and attention, and it's a collaborative process so they understand what's coming. I think the other big thing that a lot of sort of misnomers in the industry is when we come over there, we're looking for 15 megawatts or whatever else. We don't necessarily need 15 megawatts on day one. It can be a phased-in approach over a phased-in period of time, right? Especially with the market as we're looking at today, is we need to deploy and expand and scale at the pace of the market. If we go too fast, it's sort of your chicken and egg scenario, or I don't want a bunch of infrastructure sitting around that's being underutilized. So you got to go with the pace of the market. And I think that has to be relayed back to the utility companies and working with them. So as they're doing their work and doing their planning, they actually have the foresight to be able to see what you're going to do and over the long term.
Looking at on-site battery storage as well, I've heard that 4 to 9 p.m. is the worst time because it costs more for the juice.
Yep.
Are we seeing in terms of battery capabilities and technology where I'm like, hey, maybe it's 4 a.m. I'm going to get some juice, put it in there, save my juice for later, and then when that 4 to 9 happens, I'm going to transfer it over. Is that kind of something that utilities are looking at, or is it more of optimizing the fleet, saying we're going to plan our operations around not having to deal with the rush and then work from there?
I think it's both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously nobody wants to pay on-peak prices and demand charges and so forth. And having battery storage to do things like peak shaving and be able to service customers at the times when they need for a charge really helps with keeping the total cost of ownership down. I think the other side of it with utilities that's really important today is they're actually looking for companies to work with, and going to the grant discussion as well, looking for ways that you can have less impact on the grid. Actually, one of the other announcements that we had yesterday was the new technology, our energy management system that we actually rolled out, is utilizing and helping work with the grid to put less impact on the grid during high usage periods. So by doing that with battery storage or solar, or actually doing some DER on site, it really can be helpful to ensure that the utility company can scale with you.
I feel like if I'm a utility company, and when I spoke to a few folks today at ACT, there's like 4 utility companies in LA, so it's like dealing with the mob. Everyone's got their turf you got to make deals with. If I'm a utility company, what I want to partner with a Greenlane, because not only they can help me develop this, but I'm assuming maybe if I got some old lines, get with the pros, and then I say, look, I got to replace this line because these guys need the juice.
Yeah, well, I mean, every utility company's got their own path, right? And fortunately with Colton, we were working with Colton Electric Utility. Other sites we're working with SCE. So it really, different utilities, different regions, and everybody has different programs too, which are some of the challenges. But most of them are willing to work with you and adapt with you and are looking to the future because they want to see your business be a success. They're going to benefit from it too because you're going to sell more electrons.
I got a long Hail Mary, crazy, future speculative one. I've got to throw it out here while I got a little bit of time left. We talked about the battery storage opportunity for utilities. Do you ever see the potential that we'll start using like a Gen 4 modular reactor? Put that puppy down, have it on the infrastructure, give some juice back, or solar arrays. We fill our battery, we help. Is that something where these spots can also turn into giving as well as taking from the grid, a symbiotic relationship as the technology and energy generation is getting better?
You know what? We're looking at all different types of energy generation and DER on site and so forth. Solar, battery, and working in hand with the grid and chargers and so forth is something that we've already spec'd out on a number of sites. We actually even have looked at nuclear generation. I've seen a couple of portable nuclear on the back of a truck. A couple of companies actually coming out with this, and it'd be mind-boggling if we could actually make that happen and the cost actually worked itself out. I've still got some questions over whether the grid and the nuclear power are going to sit on the same site and live harmoniously under permit to be able to accomplish that. But hey, the future is coming.
The future is now. Patrick, thank you so much for your time. It's always great getting to catch up. Folks want to learn more about Greenlane, partner up, find a utility partner and an infrastructure partner. Best way to find out.
You got it. www.drivegreenlane.com.
Perfect. Really appreciate it. That's a wrap for this segment. Stay tuned. A lot more great truck tech stuff coming up from ACT Expo. I'm with the Volvo folks. We'll be talking about 3 of the big things they're working on. Not only learning about the powertrain, their autonomous solutions, but their new engine that's going to be working on getting more carb compliant. A lot of great stuff. But let's dive in first with Dwayne. Dwayne, tell us a little bit about yourself first. We'll dive in.
Yeah, my name is Dwayne Teagles. I'm the Powertrain Product Marketing Manager here at Volvo Trucks North America. Behind me I have here is the D13 turbo compounding engine, which we've had out since 2017. This is really a staple in our long haul product. This truck here recuperates heat energy through the turbo compounding unit to, well, bring in additional fuel savings. It is really pinnacle in our VNL product. This is available in a 405, 425, and 455 and 500. Anywhere from a 1750 up to a 1950 torque engine. This engine makes peak torque at 900 RPMs, and that's really the secret sauce to driving our fuel economy and also our down speeding technology in the VNL we see behind us over here.
And one of the things I'm looking at is when we're looking at alternatives like natural gas, a 15-liter engine, but when I drove in diesels, they tell me the 13-liter engine for long-haul applications. Is that one of the things because of the capabilities now of these blocks? You don't need to have a 15-liter engine for the diesels now. You can get the same power and capabilities with that 13-liter.
Yeah, displacement's going to give us a little bit more pumping loss when you start looking at larger displacement engines, sacrificial losses in the engine, where the 13-liter definitely gives you an advantage, smaller displacement, less frictional losses, and also giving you, well, the horsepower and torque needed to move the load.
And when we're looking at this engine block itself in the header, like the block's been around since 17, what are fleets normally speccing it out? Is it something you see a common theme among the type of capabilities, or is it, tailored to the needs of like a day cab short haul? Is there like one of the popular sellers of this block, or is it, that makes sense?
So the D13 is kind of works in all of our platforms. We have, our day cabs will typically require smaller horsepowers, and as we go into larger sleepers, we'll gravitate a little bit higher into maybe a 455 or a 500 horse application.
Fuel economy as well for folks. It used to be back in the day, 6.5 miles per gallon was a really big deal.
Yep.
Some fuel surcharges are still 6.5 miles per gallon. What are the capabilities of this block?
So capabilities depend on application, of course, and range anywhere from heavy loads to low sixes all the way up into high tens, depending on the loads that you're running. The turbo compounded engine is fantastic when fuel efficiency is running. Again, low engine RPMs is key to this. And the aerodynamics of the truck play a key component into this. So not only is it the engine, but it's the transmission and also the aerodynamics of the truck that help this become fuel efficient, overall fuel efficient vehicle.
And talking about the powertrain, is Volvo is it end to end? So if you're designing the block, you're also making the powertrain, the whole kit and caboodle, or talk about what goes into that design when you're looking at.
Yeah, so everything is a Volvo product. The engine, the transmission, those are all Volvo products, and obviously the chassis, differentials are these supplied by Meritor or Dana. But yes, everything is proprietary and talks to itself for maximum efficiency.
And talking about your career and experience, what's been kind of the cycle? Give us some of your background, especially at Volvo, for folks who are trying to catch up on the long arc of this engine and powertrain development, some of the cool stuff.
So I've been with Volvo for 8 years now, anything from product marketing into our training department, trying to drive home the value of down speed and fuel efficiency to our customers.
And with the down speed helping with fuel efficiency, is that kind of like a form of Jake brake, or is the block itself helping do that?
Great question. When we talk about down speeding, it's referring to the engine running at low RPMs. We use a very fast rear axle ratio, like a 215 up to a 217. So it gives us the opportunity to use the transmission in its application, 3 gears at highway road speed. So if we're on flat terrain, we're using top gear. If we're on rolling hills, we may be in direct drive. And if we're climbing a hill, we're going to drop down into underdrive to give it full power and full torque pull net. So it maximizes the condition running the parasitic loss at lower RPMs.
And when we're looking at the transmission, are these like 13-speed transmissions? What's the typical profile of a transmission for these?
So transmissions will vary. We offer a 12-speed, a 13-speed, and a 14-speed transmission, all I-shift transmissions. The 12-speed's kind of the standard there for like a 247 rear axle ratio or higher numerically. When we get into like a 13-speed, we'll use it with our I-torque powertrain spec. That's going to be, again, a 215 to a 217, where startability is just, that's required because of the fast ratio and also the weight that we're running. 14-speed we use for a little bit more vocational applications, typically a greater startability, heavier weights.
So you need that 14-speed because you're working your way up versus if I'm like doing highway at 12, it's perfectly fine if I'm mostly on interstates.
Yeah, the deep reduction is really down in the transmission in the 14 speed. The first gear is really deep. And the same thing with the 13 speed. The top 12 gears are the same in all of the transmissions.
How many miles can I get on this block? When we're looking at life cycle for fleets who are purchasing it, what's kind of the capabilities, or what's a good rule of thumb for folks who want to understand the bang for your buck?
So we got a B50 rating here on this. So, those can range anywhere up to 1 million miles.
Really? I had one last thing here. I called it the Golden Pedal Award. I talked with one large engine maker, and they said when they're testing it, they found out a driver never went out of first gear. He didn't understand it. Do you have any fun stories about how, in terms of the durability of these engines, any surprises on that long tail of things?
Well, there's always a transition in educating drivers and customers. Can't think of anything off the top of my head, but no, it's been an adventure.
Perfect. Dwayne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really awesome information. We're now talking with Johan, and one of the big things Volvo is working on is improving engines, especially in terms of the regulatory environment and CARB compliant. I'm super happy to be talking with Johan about this. There's a lot of stuff going on in this space, and I am not nearly qualified enough to answer that, and so we're bringing in the expert here. Johan, tell us a little about yourself, then we'll start diving in.
Yeah, I'm Johan Agerbrand, Director of Product Marketing for Volvo Trucks North America. So I'm really responsible for all the marketing teams and all the subject matter experts when it comes to all our products.
And one of these products here is talking about the low NOx engine. We have it over on this little kiosk here, but when we're looking at the engine we talked about earlier has been around since 2017. Is this going to be a brand new redesigned engine block, or is this going to be a update?
It's more of an update. So really it's an update that adds on to it in the after-treatment system. So it's really a heater that sits in the after-treatment system that's being fed by a 48-volt battery and separate battery pack. So really when it comes to regulations and the difficulties of meeting certain regulations and certainly lowering NOx, the industry, we're talking about getting the SCR to work faster. It's not the old engines the engines we have on the road today. When they're up and running 65 miles an hour on the highway, they emit more or less zero NOx. So everything comes on cold starts, warm-ups, and these kind of periods that needs to now occur faster. And therefore you put in an electric heater in many cases, or heat up the SCR faster to get that chemical reaction to start.
One of the challenges when I managed fleets was that if my drivers weren't reaching a certain speed threshold, it wouldn't start burning it. It's like a sweet spot. Is that one of the goals with this new update, is to help start it earlier, and then hopefully I don't have to do like a forced regen or something else?
Exactly. So forced regen, or many times for the sulfur or other things that may come in through the fuels to clean out the material in the SCR. And really what we need to do here is, and it's like you say, it's an optimum working temperature.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for, right? So what we need to do with these, and that's what the product does, it gets to these temperatures much faster so that it can start working in the right way.
And is that part of, when we're looking at the NOx, is that part of the DEF tank and the fluids for drivers you're understanding, or is this the thing that goes under it and starts burning it?
It actually sits inside the SCR. So an SCR has many components to it. You have a oxidation catalyst, and then you have a DPF filter. Then you usually have a little bit of a middle chamber where you do a urea dosing.
Yeah.
The heater will sit in that area, heat up the air while the urea dosing occurs, so that the urea fumigates faster and be able to actually react when it goes through the catalyst in a good way.
That was my biggest challenge. They'd clog their filters, and then they'd idle it too much and then clog the filters, and the whole thing would just fall apart.
You're right. Now, so filters and particulates, we burn that also with the temperature. So it helps in all these aspects to getting the system up and running in a good way.
And talking about the carb stuff as well, is this existing carb that has not been impacted by some of these regulatory battles, or is this more of a forward-looking thing saying, we're going to do this anyway, regardless of what happens when some of these goals of NOx emissions reduction?
Yeah, it's really a marketplace and driven. And so when we look at carb, we currently have the omnibus regulation. This is a really good engine for customers that may be affected by those regulations or the availability of trucks in that regulation, because this really meets those criteria when it comes to NOx. It will be available on our all-new VNL and all-new VNR, right? So it's a pretty wide portfolio that we're bringing this onto. And it's also a good development, because looking at whatever happens with EPA 27 and stuff going forward that we as the industry don't fully know, but with the current regulations, we're looking at a 0.035, and this will be that would be a further development in the 0.035 with that. So,
oh no.
So this is just a further development of 0.035, or on the road to the 0.035, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a further evolution of what we have today on the road to new emission standards that will bring it into place.
So this is the long-term play, regardless of administrations and changes. In the event this comes back, you're already positioned in a market standpoint to take advantage of it. What was the current? Was it 0.035 is what we were looking at now that's going to happen anyway, or was the 0.035 that goal?
0.035 is what we're looking at for 27. Currently we're at 0.2. And California has a rule of 0.05 with the omnibus. So it's very difficult for the customers. There has been low availability of trucks for customers in certain regions of the country, depending on what rule they affect. And this is really to alleviate that, make sure that customers can get products so that we can move the goods that we are so dependent on.
So by 2027, if I'm a California customer buying trucks, I really need to start paying attention to this part, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No pressure. Looking at this autonomous one as well, we're going to be switching gears over. We got a VNL autonomous behind us. Tell us a little bit about some of that from your standpoint in educating product.
Well, really, the autonomous product is to complement everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest idea when we look at the overall business case, or whatever you want to call it, on autonomous, it's driver shortage, and it's to be able to move goods. And with that said, currently we're running these autonomous vehicles in Texas, certain routes. Safety drivers are in there. As of yet, we have not removed the safety drivers.
Yeah.
And another big piece that we do at Volvo, because it's important to us to make sure that this is extremely safe when autonomous really gets out on the road, is that this vehicle has redundancy in everything it does. It has redundant steering and redundant acceleration and braking systems. It has redundant hazards and flashing lights, and all of those things, because we really need to make sure that people and the rest of us, if we see an autonomous vehicle, we need to trust that this vehicle works as well, right? It's a big social impact.
One last question here. Was one of the early autonomous stuff in 2020, 2021, showcasing the tech, but being an OEM and having tier 1 suppliers, was that kind of one of the reasons we're seeing this sudden jump to driverless out soon, is because the manufacturing feels comfortable now with the safety and capabilities that we're on this path versus, oh, well, the tech, I can put it on the top, but maybe the other stuff was not set up. It's hanging out.
No, it's different things. It's you know, you have the mix of technology, and you have the mix of manufacturing and stuff. So both needed to be developed. Yes, and you go back a little bit further, and you know, you always start with proof of concepts and things like this, and that's really what's going on in the beginning. And now you're looking at more industrial products, software growing to being in an industrial scalable state.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. Johan, thanks so much for your time. We're now talking with the Volvo folks on autonomy. We're actually standing in front of the Volvo Autonomous VNL that is being powered by the Aurora driver, if you can see on this edge here. And I'm joined by James, who's going to give us a little more information about not only the release, but what this means moving forward. And James, it's a pleasure to get to talk to you. Tell us a little about yourself first.
It's great to meet you. I'm James. I'm the sales manager for Volvo Autonomous Solutions. I've been with that group for about 2 years. I've been with Volvo Group for 6 years.
And looking at from a sales standpoint, You guys have Wabi, you guys have the Aurora driver. How is this looking like in terms of deployment, when we're going to see this thing go to market? What's kind of the timeline so far?
Okay. Well, what you see in front of you, let me describe the truck.
Yeah, let's drive it there first.
Okay. So what you see in front of you is a designed and built from the ground up autonomous vehicle. So Volvo designed the redundant systems, braking systems, steering systems, electrical systems, communication systems, anything that is needed to keep the truck safe. We've put 2 of them on there.
Yeah.
Even 2 sets of brake lights. We've partnered with Aurora to provide the driver for us, a quote-unquote driver, which includes the sensor arrays and the computer that processes all the information coming in from the sensors, as well as their AI, which analyzes that data and reacts accordingly.
So when we're looking at when these things are going to be purchased and you're going to have them kit, let's say I'm on the Volvo, I don't know, do you guys order through the website if I'm on a large fleet, or do I have like a guy I need to talk to?
Well, actually, our model at this point is we do not sell this vehicle. We believe there's too much risk to try to sell this vehicle. What we're offering is transportation as a service. So we're going out to the market, and our customers are giving us loads to move for them. And we're assuming all the risk, all the cost of the truck itself, the terminals, everything that needs going to supporting these trucks, we're taking on that risk.
So when we're looking at that, I'm assuming there's a Volvo terminal, the Volvo shop, like full end-to-end truck as a service on behalf of the customer. How does the truck as a service part work?
Yeah, so what we're able to do is, depending on what our customer needs are, we can pick up the load from origin. We'll do that with a manual driver, and then we'll bring it to our hub, where the trailer and truck will go through an additional inspection to make sure it's safe to go on the road. And then we will launch it from one hub, and it will go to another hub. And then at that hub, the reverse will happen, and then a manual driver will take that load to final destination.
So like with the middle mile, it's almost like an airport, where at the end of the day, you get like, it goes to the hub, it gets a pre-trip, a post-trip, drops it off, we're going to check it again, pre-trip, post-trip, and then go from there, and then the driver goes to the end point for delivery.
Yes, yeah.
What folks are you partnered up right now? Who are you working with for this truck as a service at the moment?
Right now, our biggest customers are DHL and Uber. We've been really good partners working with us, trying to find regular business that we can move for them. And these are commercial loads. This is freight that needs to get to a destination.
Yeah.
This is not test. This is not an empty trailer. This is not dummy cargo. This is real world service is primary for these customers.
And Dallas to Houston's the first lane, right?
Yeah, we are operating autonomously now between the Dallas and Houston terminals. We have a safety driver in the vehicle at this point, but we anticipate being able to remove the safety driver and going fully autonomous.
So that's part of one of the big things with Aurora and the other autonomous. The reason they want to do driverless out is because then on these lanes, the safety driver gets removed in a sort. Is that kind of the holy grail at the moment, or is it still testing it better with the safety driver?
Yeah, ultimately we all want to go to taking the driver out. That's the real promise of autonomy, be able to take the driver out and that vehicle be able to cover more distance in a day than a human driver can cover. And that's where autonomy is really going to shine, in that 600 to 700 plus mile lane, where we'll be able to keep going when a human driver would have to take a break.
Texas is the starting port right now for autonomy. Are there other locations, or is it kind of a state-by-state basis as they work on their patchwork of regulations and stuff?
It's a combination. It is that, but also we're listening to our customers. Our customers are the ones telling us, hey, we want you to go here, or we have this need here. So we're really entering into a partnership with our customers instead of us trying to force the industry where to go.
Do you guys have numbers on how many of these are running right now? Is it like a 2-truck thing, kind of like a Kodiak in the oil sands? Or are we talking like 10, 15, 20?
At this point, we've got 3 trucks that we're running on the Dallas to Houston lane, and we anticipate bringing more in. And then we'll also, later this year, put them into the El Paso to Fort Worth lane, the other lane we're operating.
And that's going to be the next one up. And then are there going to be any other new customers, or is this just an organic expansion of their existing capabilities?
No, we're constantly pursuing new customers.
And speaking of which, if folks do want to partner up, if they are a customer who want stuff moved, what's the best way to kind of get in touch if they're interested in partnering up and having an autonomous vehicle get on these lanes?
Yeah, you can reach us at our website, Volvo Autonomous, and then we'll interact with customers and start a dialogue.
Perfect. James, appreciate your time. Thanks for letting me pick your brain.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a wrap for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Gonna have a lot more great content coming up. While you're at it, check us out, freightwaves.com/trucktech. You want to subscribe to the newsletter. It comes out every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then if you're looking and just joining us, this comes out on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, wherever you may find your podcasts. That's it for this episode. Don't worry, folks. A lot more great stuff. I'll see you next week.